that music off. Hello everyone, I'm Mark Terrell from the Reluctant Leader Academy, and this is Motivational Maps Live. This came about where I was talking about some Motivational Map Team data, and I thought it'd be good fun to look into the data. It's a fictitious team, and I asked a question on LinkedIn a few days ago about what do you think the challenges would be for this team. So first of all, I think before I do that is that I need to go through a little bit of background to what Motivational Maps is. I'll just share with you here the framework. So this is the 9 motivations to work according to the Motivational Maps model. So we all have these 9 motivators, but the important thing is to identify which ones are most important to us. And when we do that, then we can also then start to think about how that impacts on the work we want to do at work we like to do. And when we think about that, it's not about the ability to do something, it's about whether we want to do something or not. So these are the 9 motivators, and you'll see there's 3 groups of 3 relationship, 3 achievement, and 3 growth motivators. We can have what we tend to look at is the top 3. Look at the top 3 motivators. It could be any 3 across all 9, and also then we also look at the lowest motivator, because that can be quite revealing in especially when there are certain things that a team needs to achieve, and when it's their lowest motivator, then that can be quite a barrier to actually achieving what the team needs to achieve. So they're the 9 motivators. You'll see that there's 3 relationship, as I said. Defender is about security and stability. The friend is about belonging and friendship. The star is about recognition, social esteem. 3 achievement motivators. The director is about power, influence, and control of resources and people. The builder is about money, material satisfaction. The expert is about knowledge and specialization. Then we've got the creator, which is about innovation, new ideas, expressing creative potential. Then we have the spirit, which is about freedom, autonomy, doing things our own way and having control over the way things are done. And finally, the searcher, which is the drive for meaning and making a difference. So these 9 motivations are all within us, but what we've got to do is decide or find out which ones are most important to us. Then Motivational Maps lets us do that. So when we think about how we do that, is that we get a matrix when we get a team, and I'm just going to share with you the matrix that I shared the other day, in that we have here the 9 motivators spread across 18 people that are brought together. And this is what I do with my clients, is you can look at this data and think, well, how is this team made up? What are their real drives? What is important to them? And if you are leading a team, then this is really gold dust, because you can then decide, or this will influence the way you lead the team. And when we think about what a team wants from us as a team leader or manager, if we know that there's certain things that are important to the team, then if we can give it to them, then we're more likely to get a better, well, performance will be better, and all the other things that come from that, and the rapport and all those things that are important when we're leading a team. So let's dive into how we'd look at this data then. I'm only going to spend about 10 minutes on this. I'm not going to go into it in massive detail, but just to give you a flavour of what we can do with this data. So first of all, let's have a look at the overall motivation of this team. So bottom right hand corner, you'll see there's a score there, I'll just circle it, of 80%. So this group of people collectively are 80% motivated. So what that means is that their top 3 motivators are being, in most instances, met quite well. But obviously, when you get a group, there's some that will be particularly well met and well motivated, then there'll be others that aren't. So we've got an average of 80, but there's going to be some that are lower than that. So if we think about that, if we look at how we can use that average with regards to those that are below average, then we can look about how we can improve the motivation of those below. So we've got a number of individuals that there's one there 57, one there 55, And overall, with really only two people in this team that really we'd want to look at as to how their top three motivators are being met. So that would be the first starting point if you were looking at this team. The next thing you look at is actually what this team is there to do, or what is their remit, what is that they've got to achieve, and then to think about their top three motivators and whether they're in line with what they've got to achieve and what they've got to how they're going to work together. So if we go through the top three motivators of the team, so the top motivator is searcher. So the strongest motivation in this team is to make a difference and do something worthwhile. The second motivation, strongest, is the spirit motivator. Is the spirit, so that's freedom, autonomy. And both of those, out of the 18 people, 14 people have got those motivators, either searcher or spirit, in their top three. So about 75% have them in their top three. And then the other top in the top three is the creator motivator. So you can see that the growth motivators are really strong in this group, which isn't surprising because this group is made up of some entrepreneurs that I know and have completed motivational maps. So as I said, this is a true team, but it's a group of people that if they were brought together, how would they actually be able to work together? It's the important thing. So we know their top three motivators. What we can see is actually they are very change friendly. So they like change. They want things to change. They embrace change. But what's interesting is if we look at the lowest motivator of this team, so the overall lowest motivator of the team is the Defender Motivator. So what's the Defender about? Defender's about stability, security, predictability. So the thing that they least want or least focused on is that, and what they're focused mainly on is change and new things. Now, in itself isn't a problem, but if you think about a team, when it comes to doing something, you have to have a balance of people that are checking things. So you need to have people that are checking things. So in this group, in this team that we've sort of brought together, there is actually only one person you'll see with the score of 26 that has anything that really resembles someone that really wants to have stability and predictability. So there would only be one person that's really driving that, and so that person might become a little bit disgruntled. It might feel a bit uncomfortable because there's so much change going on. That person would think, well, actually, we need to stop and think about this a little bit more than what we're actually doing. So that person has actually still got those top three motivators. It's got a high spirit and high searcher in that person. So they are change friendly, but they also have a drive to make sure that things are also stable and secure. So what we see there in that individual is there's a little bit of what we call an internal opposition, in that they want change, but actually is there a brake on that prevents that change from happening? So internally, but when we look at the team, that person might feel a little bit outnumbered when it comes to thinking about stability and keeping things in order. So that's one thing to look at. So another thing to look out for within a team is what we call internal, basically a conflict within the team. And motivational conflicts are things that we can identify and obviously prevent. So this does not tell us that there is conflict. It just lets us be aware that there potentially could be some conflict. So what do I mean by this? So if we look at the Expert Motivator, which is about specialization and knowledge, there are a number in this team. There is 6 people out of the 18 who have expert in their top 3 because they're coloured either yellow or orange or red. But there's also 2 people that have it as their lowest. So the thing that they least want to do is be a specialist, have specialist knowledge, and probably they're not really interested in training, whereas the 6 probably would be looking to improve their knowledge and have lots of training. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there. So what we've got to do is make sure that that's first of all shared with the team, so they know that obviously some people want some training and some don't. But then we've got to think about how that impacts on what the team is trying to achieve, and making sure that that's not causing a problem. So if this is a team that's had to have a specialist knowledge and had to go on lots of training, one of the 6 of the people would be probably up for that, but 2 of them might be a little bit like, well, actually, I'm not really into all that, and it might not be quite the thing I want to do. So by sharing this information, it can really help a team understand one another and prevent those sort of conflicts that pop up. It's also, if you see, because it's the blue numbers, the one with the blue backgrounds, that are the lowest motivators for each of the individuals. So we've got that going across from expert down to the defender, where there's what we call some potential conflicts. We don't know whether there is a conflict, but if you looked, for instance, another where there's a lot of blue is the Star Motivator. So Star Motivator, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have Star, which is about recognition and social esteem, as their lowest, the thing they least look for in their work. But there's 2 in that team that have it as their second most important motivator. So when we think about the Star and the recognition thing, it's quite sort of noticeable when someone wants recognition, because they will be looking for it, and they do certain things that make them get noticed. And if that's happening a lot, then those that have the Star Motivator as their lowest could potentially start to rub them up the wrong way. So this is another way that we could prevent that happening, because we've got to have a mixture. We need people that are going to be there to get the recognition for the team that it needs, and all those sort of things. So it's about understanding the individual and making sure that that person has the right role in the team. So that's that. I'm just going to wrap things up in a second. One other thing to think about in this group is that there's the director motivator here. There's only one person that particularly wants to be in charge. And if we think about the spirit motivator, which is about freedom and autonomy, if that person does take charge, then they might have a bit of a struggle, because there's a lot of people in the team that want their freedom and autonomy, so they want to make their own decisions and don't really want to be managed. So that person would it might feel like sometimes that they're herding cats, and they would have to be quite skillful in the way that they lead the team. So there's a little bit of an insight into how we use a team map data to help the performance of the team by identifying the motivators of the team first of all, and then using that information to make sure that we avoid conflict, get people in the right roles, and make sure that overall the team has the right motivations to deliver on the remit of the team. So let's just move on, and I just want to share with you before I wrap up the 7-step model that I've created with motivation as its core, which I call it Motivated. It's a 7-step process. Starts with mirror, carries on to evaluate, action, systemize, unify, review, and energize, and that's all brought together in my book, which is called Motivated, which you can find on Amazon or on my website, which is thereluctantleader.academy. So I hope that's been useful for you. Those that caught this on replay, don't hesitate to ask any questions if anything comes up from what you've heard me talking about. And for now, I will bid you farewell, and I will see you next time when I am talking about motivation on the Motivational Maps Live even. See you next time.